everyone. It's so good to be here again on another episode of our Health and Wellness webinar series. Okay, today I came prepared because I have my sticky notes guiding me today. So, if you are just joining us for the first time, this is the Health and webinar series, and it's an initiative of the White Hotel, a non-profit organization. Yeah, we are aimed at preventing and managing non-communicable diseases, basically diabetes, hypertension, and obesity. So we know that there are projections that the burden of non-communicable diseases will actually keep rising, and that is why we are actually focusing on this. And basically, we know that focusing on adults. So you might be saying that, oh, I'm not an adult, so why should I actually attend this webinar? So you might not be an adult here. Let's say you're not here age 30 and above, but you can invite your parents, you can invite your uncles, let them learn, let them just gain one or two tips that will actually help them eat healthy, live healthy, and stay healthy. So, a quick recap on our last week. Our topic was actually on how we can improve our diet quality, and we actually had as a guest a registered dietitian, also a person of bipolar diary. She was actually, and she dished out a lot on how we can actually improve our diet quality. She took us through 40 areas, and she talked about the fact that we need to consume more of nutrient-dense foods, and we should limit the consumption of food that empty calories, basically, food from added sugar, fat, and processed oils, and all of that. Also, she enlightened us on the fact that we need to consume foods from various food groups on a daily basis. Talking about fruit, vegetables, protein, dairy, and fat, and all of that. Another key thing to mention was the need for us to control our calorie intake so we can maintain an energy balance. And that will emphasize the need that the energy intake should not actually be more than the energy we are expending, so that there won't be deficits and causing overweight and all of that. Then lastly, she talked about the fact that we need to moderate our diet. Ensure you are not eating too little, ensure you are not eating too much. So today and this month, we are actually moving forward, and the topic we are considering this month is actually related to healthy cooking habits. Healthy cooking habits. So I know that we all know that the food we eat can actually be a medicine, and other way it can be a poison, depending on how you cook your food. So today on this webinar, we have our guest who is also Susan. She's a registered dietitian in the person of Peace Yamaka Ezekiel. I'm not sure I pronounced that well, but I'm sure our guest will actually pardon me. So let me give you a brief about our guest so that you can know that you listen well and invite other people subsequently. If you are watching, if you are still going to watch later, please invite people. Invite people. Thank you. So our guest is also a registered dietitian, and she's a public health professional. She's also a dietary consultant, and she's the founder of PT Nutrition. So welcome our guest. Over to you. Let's say hi to our viewers at home.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here for this month's series, and I'm sure that we'll have an insightful and a good evening discussing strategies and how to cook and live healthy.
Yes. Thank you. So,
Thank you.
we don't plan to actually spend so much of time. So very soon we'll keep the ball rolling, and our guests will actually give us more insights on the topic. But before we start, we know that when we are talking about healthy cooking habits, before we even say that, oh, we are going to the kitchen to cook, a lot of things have gone on the ground. You have gone to the market, oh, you've purchased a lot of things, you purchased a lot of items, and before you now, okay, carry those foods to your kitchen and you begin to cook. So, like I said in the introductory speech, that the way you cook your food determines if you are eating healthy and it determines the outcome of your health. So it's our choice to actually decide that, oh, we are going to make our food our medicine and ensure that we live a healthy life. So now over to our guest. We like to kick the ball rolling by saying, by actually asking that, are there things that people have to consider while shopping in the market before they even start cooking?
Yes, there are actually vital things that people have to consider before going to the market.
Mm,
These days, people are trying to live healthy and indulge in healthy habits. So, the first thing on the list is having a grocery list. You can't just
mm,
wake up, withdraw some money, and go to the market. There has to be a grocery list, there has to be a shopping list. So, if you have a grocery list, you should be able to list some of the items that you don't have in your pantry and some of the
mm,
items that are needed, because this will help you to save cost. It will also help you to shop healthily and to know the side or the part of the shopping mall to go to. If you're using a mall, then if you're using the market, you know where to start first and then where to end. Like for me, I always like to start from the meat section first so that I'll get the freshest meat then before I move to the other side. Aside having a grocery list, one also has to consider the reading the nutrition fact labels is very
mm,
important, because for some items like meat products, some vegetables, some cereals, you may be having a little baby that may need a vitamin A fortified cereal. If you don't
mm,
compare the information on the food labels, you won't be able to know or have an informed choice to pick from. So you have to check actually if the nutrient composition or the values there, if they are actually what you need, then the daily values, are they up to the minimum intake that is considered for each nutrient? Let's say for a sodium that is a pack of food that has a sodium content of 20% DV or above, you wouldn't want to go for that, because anything more than 20% for added sodium, added sugar, and all that may be quite high for you. So you may want to consider the one that has less than 20% DV. Then let's look at the fiber, because we encourage people to take more fiber. If it's a whole grain cereal and it has more than 5% DV, you know that is a better choice, because there is this notion that it has more fiber and it will help you with the gut health, with stool, and then in removing excess fats from the body. So these are things you have to look out for. For some of the nutrients that you need them, and you know that you can always get them when you buy maybe some packaged foods and there are food labels on them. You can look out for the ones that are above 5% DV, like for that of dietary fiber and some other important nutrients like protein. But for those
mm,
ones that will have to cut down on, such as trans fats, saturated fats, cholesterol, and all that, you have to look for the one that is less than 20% DV. So these are things that you have to consider when checking food labels or nutrition fact labels. Then we also look at the expiry dates. You
mm.
know that these days
Very
people want to
important.
improve. Yeah, it's very important. People want to improve the texture or the flavor of their product so that you keep coming. These are market strategies. So most of the food products may actually have some saturated fat as maybe an additive or part of the ingredients, maybe to improve flavor and taste. We all know that fat in food, aside providing energy, also improves flavor and taste. So they may have
Mm,
that content there. They may also have added sodium or added salt. So if you look at the
mm,
expiry date, you'll be able to know if actually this product should be eaten now or if it should have been discarded since and is still on
yeah.
the shelf. So with that in mind, you'll be able to make healthier choices. And then you can also look out for essential nutrient like the vitamin A, if there is an I symbol on it, showing that it's fortified with vitamin A.
Mm.
Then if it's for that of some healthy fat or oil, okay, fat or oil options, maybe you want to buy a keg of oil, you can look out for vitamin E. The quantity of vitamin E there is there, if there is an additional enrichment. So all these are key nutrients to actually look out for. Then from there, you'll be able to know what to pick and make informed choices. And then I also forgot to add in the ingredients label, you also have to look at the ingredients. The first ingredient that starts the food list is actually the one that has the highest volume. Let's say you have a box of maybe cookies or biscuit and you see flour first. That means the flour has, let's say, 100% of the volume. It's higher
Mm.
in quantity and volume. Then let's say the least ingredient that is there may be added sugar. That means added sugar is quite smaller or is the smallest ingredient used there.
Smallest.
So for yes, so if you have a pack of products that start with sugar first, you have to be
Mm.
very careful in picking such product because it just shows that sugar is the number one ingredient there. So even if you have like let's say a 1 kg volume of product inside it, sugar may be up to 900 gram, while every other ingredients will now be by fractions. So these are vital things to consider when going to the market and picking a product.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for providing insight that we don't just barge into the market and you just pick everything on the shelf that you see. We need to pay attention to checking the slightest details on everything we are going to be buying. Especially
Yes,
you want to
definitely.
check with your health. Yes, that at this level that I have, this is my weight and everything. Do I need to cut down and do I need to avoid empty calories, added sugar that is seen on certain lists? That will actually help us to actually make informed decision. A quick one for people that maybe they don't go to the shopping mall to get their items, and they just go into one local market and they just see one farmer, bam, they pick it, they just see one. So yes, I want us to actually strike a I want us to strike a balance. Like I know that sometimes when I go to the market, I see some oil under the sun, and I'm like, this, we want you to provide more insights for people that don't actually get their stuff maybe in the mall and they just get it in local market. What should they look out for to what they are buying and everything before they get to where they want to start cooking?
Okay, I will be giving some practical examples on how I shop for some of my oils and vegetables. So most times in the local market, things are displayed in the open. Let's say you are the type that go to the open market or the local market in the afternoon. You have to be careful of things that you buy in the sun. Let's take, for example, our palm oil or some of our vegetable oil. But thank God these days that some of the vegetable oil, we don't see them so caked. They're so refined now that they feel as liquid. So let me just talk about palm oil that
You know
we
that
know that
sorry to cut you. We have heard stories that people mix a lot of things into oils in the market just for them to get money. So how do we get to know that what we are buying from the market is even good? Because I've heard stories that you see all this palm oil, there's something they mix so all these vegetable oil. So how do we ensure that people are buying the right thing in the market? So you can go on.
okay, okay, then for that of palm oil, you have to
Okay.
buy from a trader that puts it in a shade. There is a
Mm.
shade over it because one, palm oil contains some amount of saturated fat. And when an oil has some saturated fat in it, it means that at room temperature, when there is no sun, it's just under the normal room temperature, it's going to get solid. And that solid part is not really needed by the body because
Mm.
it can predispose one to the risk of hypertension, cardiovascular diseases, weight gain, and some other problems. So we are looking at palm oil that even when you bring into the home, most of the content will be in liquid form.
Mm.
Most people go as far as going to the mill to buy. Whether buying from the mill or from the open market, make sure you buy from a vendor that is verified. At least you know that she deals with solely vegetable oils or palm oil. She's
Mm.
neat, the environment is conducive, and then there is a shade over the place where these vegetable oils are placed. Some go as far as tasting, but I won't recommend tasting because if you're in the market, I don't think there is any tap for you to wash your hands. So yeah, after touching, let's say meat or touching kanda or something or pomo, and you now still use the hand to taste, you may be cross-contaminating yourself and it's not healthy. So
Mm.
just be
Mm.
sure that you buy from a verified vendor. And aside buy from a verified vendor, that the oil is under the shade and the containers that are used in packing the oils are also neat and clean. So these are vital things to look out for. Then for some vegetables, like we have some vegetables that are very rich in provitamin A, and these provitamin A vegetables, the nutrients, the vitamin A in them, such as the beta carotene, lutein, some of these things can be disrupted or destructible by heat or by light. So these other
Mm.
ones should also be bought from a shade, or there should be an umbrella or a covering over it. Our potatoes, some of our potatoes contain some good amount of provitamin A. Our carrots, all these things shouldn't be displayed in the open.
Mm.
So there should be a shade or an umbrella or a form of protection over it. So you be sure that, oh, you're not just buying food to eat. After consuming this food, you should be able to provide the body with the necessary nutrients it needs to work with. So these are just vital things to look out for when
Oh,
shopping.
yeah. So you went as far as telling us that we can actually taste through, then we should also ensure that whatever we are buying, most especially our oils, they are under the shed so that prevent the rays and all of that. So, okay, great. So moving forward, we like to also discuss around now that we have learned how we can actually ensure that we buy good items from the market and we have ruled out the fact that, oh, it's not the item that we bought that actually has the issue. We know that, oh, we already learned how to shop. Now let's move to the cooking. Now we are home and we want to cook. And let's take, for instance, a family that wants to cook. What are the things they're supposed to take into considerations? Like, we have different people in the family. Are there recommendations that differ, most especially for our salt, for our oil? How do we gauge all those things when we are cooking?
Okay, for cooking, the topic we're discussing today is on healthy cooking. And we should know that cooking is just a way a person or group of people cooks or prepare their meal. So if it's healthy, that means that these are just cooking practices that support good health and also promote well-being. So the first thing to look at for when cooking is the type of cooking method you want to use. Let's
Mm.
say a child in the family is overweight or obese. You wouldn't want to be frying all the time because frying method adds more oil or more calories to the meal. So you may
Mm.
opt out for other options such as grilling, such as roasting, such as baking, so that you'll be able to provide this food in a tasty way, but in a less calorie form. So if you had fried, let's say, some potato chips and the calorie was 500 kilocalories, if you roasted or baked or fried it, if you have an air fryer, it may reduce it further to 250 kilocalories, and that may be healthier. So the type of method is also very important. And then you have to also consider the vulnerability of the child that you're preparing the meal for. If this child is someone that is not really strong, or you know that, oh, this child needs this nutrient, you have to consider the nutrient composition of the food. That's where we encourage people to eat more of fruits, do their 5 a day, include fruits and vegetables in your meals. So it's not just about eating whole grains or eating legume. There has to be some vegetables and fruits that will add
Okay,
some micronutrients.
sorry to cut you short. I would like us to use. scenarios that are related to adults because basically what we are trying to spell out and to educate our people on is for our young adults. And we know that our aim is actually prevent and manage non-communicable diseases, basically diabetes, hypertension, and overweight and obesity. So for young adults, and you are saying that, oh, they have to reduce their frying and all of that. Well, the third other substance they can use is grilling. What if the person does not have an oven at home? And you're saying, oh, the person should grill. What other way what
Okay.
other way, healthy way?
In order to cut down the calorie, you can actually boil, you can steam, you can boil the potatoes and eat it with some vegetable. You can actually
Mm,
steam. Yes.
mm,
Let's say you want to eat maybe a beans pudding or a beans product and you don't want to go for akara, you can do moi moi. In that way, you
mm,
steam while cooking.
mm.
So there are other options such as boiling, steaming, simmering. There are so many of them that you can actually
Other
choose from.
options.
Yes. Then if it's someone that has a sweet tooth and would always want fry, then that's where you have to strike a balance. Maybe once in a week or once in 2 weeks, you just have some portions of fries that are still within your portion guide. So all these are still things that should be tailored to having assistance or a guide from either a nutritionist or a dietitian to guide you on how to portion your meals and then what to the type of cooking method that will be effective if you're the one that are looking out to watch your weight or cut down on some calories or have some complications that you really need to be careful and then help with your management. So all these are things to consider. Then that of sodium too. In a typical day, we are not meant to exceed 2,400 milligram of sodium. This is just as equivalent as a teaspoon of salt. But
Right.
to be realistic, we know that this quantity is actually small. Some people in a pot of food have already used a level teaspoon of salt to prepare a meal. So saying that this is just what is needed in a day can really be cannot really be practiced. So in that way, you have to be able to plan your meals and know the amount of salt you are going to add at each meal.
Mm,
For those that love to take noodles or some prepackaged meals that have sodium, you have to look at the nutrition fat labels. Most noodles come with 1,000 milligram of sodium per serving, 1,200 milligram. Then if you are saying that you are meant to take 2,400, that means you're already taking half from just taking a noodle meal. So these are things to watch out from because when the sodium intake in the body is so much, it can predispose the person to hypertension.
mm.
So aside the sodium aspect, even on the table, you also have to be careful. We don't encourage people to sprinkle salt or add salt at the table. So
Really? Wow, that's interesting to know.
yes, we don't because at the end of the day, it's the total sodium intake that actually matters. So even if you are adding while cooking, you also have to be careful. For me, I always encourage people to use a small spoon, either a teaspoon or a little spoon, or if you have a salt shaker, it will also help you
Yeah.
to know the quantity or the volume
Yeah,
of salt that
that salt shaker,
added to
that
the food.
salt shaker is really very important because we know that most people, we are all guilty of it, but and that's why we actually creating webinars like this so that we all can be intentional about our health. Talking about the
Yes.
use of salt shakers, many homes you just see that, oh, they have a plastic that they put salt and they just point directly inside the soup, and with that you can't even measure the quantity of salt is added to that food. And let's say, for instance, in that family, there's somebody that is actually obese, or there's somebody that is actually that has a high blood pressure. That person's salt intake has to be worked. So it's very important that we are intentional, just like our guest has said, that we should ensure that we have plastics in our salt containers that can guide the quantity we are going to be taking. Since our guest has told us the recommended dietary allowance, so let's bring it down for easy access, like a teaspoon, the smallest spoon that a baby will use, like the smallest spoon that used to take that can be used to feed a baby. The smallest spoon, that's minimum to a teaspoon. And that's not to say that when you are cooking your own soup, you pour everything inside. For a whole day, you are going to cook rice in the morning, spaghetti in the afternoon, and beans in the evening. That salt intake shouldn't really exceed that. Then depending on the kind of health factors that we have. Oh, thank you, our guest.
Okay,
I'm
I
looking
still
at
want
you
to
have
add
no
more
other
to
option.
that of sodium. Yes, I still
Okay,
want to add more to that of sodium.
okay, please
For
go
some
on.
people, okay, for some people that are overweight or obese or hypertensive, it's not all food that you need to put salt in. You can boil
Great.
your rice without adding salt. You can boil your yam without adding salt. You can boil your spaghetti or your noodle without adding salt. Because at the end of the day, you still have a stew or a sauce to eat it with, which may
And the
contain,
stew already has
yes,
salt.
yes, salt in it. So these are key things that, because there's no need adding salt to white rice that you're not you're going to see it with either sauce or stew, or maybe some pepper soup or some other hot broth. So some of
The
these
funny thing is, some people some people they've cooked a pot of rice, they've added salt, oh, they've added salt to the soup, and they want to fry plantain again. They are they are
they
sprinkling salt again on that plantain, and you're like, the salt intake is too much.
it's too
So
much.
as our guest has said, it needs us to apply wisdom to know that for us to cut down on our salt intake, some food we can do away with salt while cooking.
Yes.
Yes.
Then
So
when
go
choosing
on.
condiments to use and cook, we can always opt out for low sodium condiments, seasoning
Mm.
cubes, some other enhancers, flavor enhancers. Always look out for the one that has low sodium content. For
Can
yes,
you give
like
us
what I explained.
examples?
Okay, sometimes some of these prepackaged products they have the inscription on it, but I will
Okay.
just guide us with the food label section. If you look at
Okay.
the nutrition fact label, if the
Okay.
sodium content is less than 140 milligram per serving, you know that that condiment has low sodium in it. But if it's more
Mm.
than 140 milligram per serving, you know that that condiment has higher amount of sodium in it.
Mm.
Then if it's the one that is not stated clearly like that, and you are looking at the daily value, at least the one that has low sodium should be less than 20%.
Mm.
So if the daily
Mm.
value is above 20% DV, then know that okay, that may not be a better choice for someone that is hypertensive or that is trying to reduce the risk of having some of these non-communicable diseases that we've mentioned earlier. Then we also encourage people to use more of herbs and spices.
Herbs and
Yes.
spices.
Yes. We have so many spices in the market now. Thank God for urbanization, technology, and all that. We have our curry, we have thyme, we have ginger, turmeric, so many
Maybe.
fenugreek.
Yeah.
Yes. So even ginger and garlic is enough to use and marinate your meat or fish, and it will give you the sumptuous taste that you need. So when you use all this, you'll be able to cut down on the salt that will be added to the food.
Yeah, just to add, that's not saying that we are leaving out salt entirely, because we know that most salts are iodized, and the iodine in salt is also very important, and it has a part to play. So it still boils down to us checking our food labels and knowing that, oh, this ingredients I get, the sodium content is already high. Oh, what other ways am I going to use to reduce the salt content of my food? let me just use other alternatives. And our guest here has actually did justice to other alternatives. She has advised we can use herbs and natural spices, just to complement our cooking so that we can actually balance how we are cooking, and we are ensuring that what we are cooking is actually beneficial to our health and is not poisonous to our health. So I guess I wonder if you also add other things that can help, that can guide people cooking, just to ensure that people are
Okay.
cooking well.
Yes. Also, the type of oil we use is also very important. We have saturated fats in them. We have the ones that have unsaturated fats in them. So it's always good for those that need heart-friendly diets or those that are trying to manage some of these non-communicable diseases to look out for foods or oils that have less of saturated fats. Some good
So what kind
oils.
of oils are that?
Okay, the saturated oils, we can find them in some of our red oil. Not to say that red oil is bad, but it has both saturated fat and unsaturated fat. So that's why I mentioned earlier that when you are buying, make sure you don't buy the one in the sun, because if you buy the one in the sun, you won't be able to picture the right
Which
amount
part?
of
Yeah,
the
because everything will
saturated,
be in
yes,
liquid
fat.
form.
Yes, yes, because everything will be dissolved in the sun. So that's just for that. And then also, you also have to be careful or mindful of um, the type of cooking method which we've already explained
Okay, wait,
earlier.
before we go to the cooking methods, let's help our viewers by actually providing them with examples of oils that they can use instead of those saturated oils. For example, they can
Okay.
use, I know some healthy oils
Okay.
like olive oil. Abby, what do you recommend those kind of
Canola
oils
oil.
for? Like olive oil,
Okay, for that of
they are
olive
more
oil,
healthy.
that of olive
Yeah,
oil is actually very good. It has essential fatty acids in them, and it will help those that
yeah,
are hypertensive or those that are on heart-friendly diets.
yeah,
But it may be quite
yeah.
expensive for everyone to purchase. And most times, because of the smoke points, it may not be used to prepare all kinds of food, like food that will stay so long on fire. Maybe it can be good for omelette or to stir fry some vegetables or make pancakes. So for that, you can use it for it. Things that you are needed, the volume is needed a very little amount. Then you can also use soya bean. Soya bean oil is quite affordable for
Yeah,
everyone. There are different brands in
plantain
the market.
oil.
Yes. So and it's also heart friendly, so it can be purchased and used. Then the palm oil, refined palm oil that we generally use, that one can be used sparingly, because one, we know that it's gotten from a mixture of different oils. We may not know the percentages, and it has also been refined. So once in a while, when you're cooking things that you know that the smoke points can be high, like the food may tend to burn, maybe if you are deep frying or something, you can use it, but you shouldn't use it more than 5 times to fry or cook a meal.
Mhm. It's not
Because
even
if you use it more
advised
than,
people to keep using oil to fry
yes, it's
because
not.
it can become
Yes,
rancid.
for those ones that have high level of saturation, you're actually meant to use once and discard. This is to
Mm.
prevent free radicals from forming, that's forming in your body from consuming it because of oxidation and so many other activities, chemical activities that go on while cooking. Some of the food we cook also have some moisture content. Mixing with oil and reusing over time, it can really oxidize and break down some of the vital nutrients in the oil, and it will be unhealthy for consumption. So all those things have to be washed out for. So let me just give a quick rundown of some of the healthy oils. We have canola, we have olive, we have soya bean oil, we have red oil, but the red oil you have to buy the one that has more of the unsaturated part and less of the saturated part.
That's
And
the
then
liquid part. That's
yes, the
the
liquid part, yeah.
not that part that sticks together.
Yes, yes. So these oils are good, but that of red oil, that's our palm oil and our coconut oil. You can use those ones sparingly when it's needed, and you also mind the portions that you add to food.
you, I guess. So obviously the cooking methods before I cut you short before I interrupted rather before we were proceeding to the cooking method. So just a quick because we're almost getting to the end of this month on this webinar. So let's quickly run us through the various cooking methods that you actually advise people that are probably watching their weight, people that maybe they want to live healthy. Probably people also that have checked their blood sugar, they've checked their blood pressure and see that, oh, it's above the borderline and they are really willing to put in the effort and the energy to actually eat and live healthy. So what cooking method can they use
Okay,
to actually
I will start with the commonest cooking methods that we usually practice in our home. We have boiling. Boiling is very good because the food is going to be submerged inside water, and it will add little or no calorie to what you are cooking. So it's a very healthy option. Yes. It's just that it may not give you that flavor or that taste or that crispy taste that you may get if you had fried the meal. But actually is a very good method of preparing food. We also have steaming for things like vegetables, for rice, for moi moi. You can actually steam. Steaming is good because the water boils underneath and then the steam is what is used to prepare the meal, and it also helps to improve the flavor of the food, especially if you are cooking with local leaves, especially that of moi moi and all that. There is this other sumptuousness that comes with it. Then we also have the grilling method. For those that have ovens at home, they can actually grill. When you grill, the heat comes from beneath. So you can use that for some meats that have bones in them, or chicken parts, or turkey, or other items like your potatoes and all that. You can marinate and grill. We have the broiling method. In broiling method, the heat comes from above. You have your oven, but the heat comes from above. This type of method can be used for tender meats or tender cuts of chicken or turkey that don't really have bone. It's going to make it crispy on the outside but soft on the inside. So if you are the type that likes such textures and flavor, you can opt for broiling. Then we have our roasting. Roasting is almost the same thing with baking, but when you are dealing with flour, sugar, bakes, you consider the method as baking because the heat is circulated all over the oven. But if you are roasting, let's say something like meat product or vegetables, we regard that as roasting. But roasting and baking is the same thing. It's just the type of food that defines it, and the heat comes from all around the compartment of the oven.
mm,
So for those that don't have an oven, they can actually roast with whatever they have, stove or oven tops or stove tops. They can actually roast, and it's healthy because if you are roasting, let's say something like a fatty fish like sardine, the oils may even drip off. So in that way, it's reducing the amount of oil that will be taken into the food. So these are some good cooking practices that we should always try to practice if we want to cut down on weight and reduce the risk of cardiovascular diseases and other ailments. Then for the
that's
frying, it can be once in a while. But for those that can totally avoid, maybe those that are very morbidly obese, those ones they should actually avoid deep frying. They can stir fry, but they should avoid deep frying, and it should be once in a while.
and you can also use all these recipes like grilling. You don't want to fry your fish or you grill it. It's also
Yes,
so by that way it's not adding extra calories. Rather it's helping
definitely.
drain the oil and all of that.
And they can
So
even grill with adding herbs and spices to improve the taste so that they'll
yeah.
be able to enjoy the meal as well.
Thank you very much. I guess it has actually been an enlightening one and very insightful. and we have actually learned various things on how we can cook, right from how we go to the market to ensure that we check the food labels and we look out for ensuring look out to ensure that we are purchasing quality items from the market. With that, we have been able to rule out the fact that the healthy practices started from the market. And over to the kitchen, we are going to also ensure that we moderate our salt. We ensure that the oils we are using is healthy. And if the method we are using is not a method that is also adding so much calories to our diet, depending on your desire, for our viewers, depending on your health goal, is that you want to actually lose weight, or you want to also prevent the risk of all these cardiovascular disease that are flying out. This webinar is something you need to keep, especially this series, is something you need to keep watching over and over again. So today, we want to thank you, our guest, for honoring us, and we are really grateful. We are really grateful. So on
Thank
today's
you.
episode, I'll be wrapping up. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure having you here. We were really, we're blessed and we learned a lot. So I'll be rounding up by saying that it's your choice. If you decide to be intentional, and if you decide not to be intentional about your health. But we all know that prevention is usually better than cure. So choose the preventive practices by ensuring that we focus on healthy habits, healthy eating habits, healthy cooking, and lots more. So today I'll be ending with this quote that says, make your diet your medicine and make the medicine your diet. So it is actually possible, and our kitchen is supposed to be our clinic, where we know that, we are making healthy meals. Yeah. Well, that's not to say that medicines are not good. Yes, if you need to take medicine, take it. But we all know that diet has a vital part to it. So on this note, we'll be saying bye-bye. Thank you, and God bless. On to the next episode, we'll keep you posted. Don't forget to keep following us and watching our webinars and inviting people. Thank you very much. Bye. Bye, P. Bye.
Bye.